Today's video is a part 2 of a two-part series on ABLE accounts. In part 1, we looked at qualification for an ABLE account and for account ownership and what is an ABLE account. And in part 2 today, we're going to look at the contribution limitations and the withdrawal limitations for ABLE accounts. My name is Gregory Singleton. I'm an estate planning and probate attorney that lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I work for Signature Law, which is an estate planning and probate law firm that serves the Twin Cities and Greater Minnesota alike. Just a reminder, if you like today's video, please feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. It actually really helps support the channel. Also, a couple of caveats before we get going. First of all, these videos are for educational purposes only. I am not giving legal advice. And secondly, we are very specifically going to be talking about Minnesota law today. ABLE accounts are based on a federal law that is enforced or that is implemented by the states. And we're going to be talking about Minnesota's implementation of the ABLE account. That said, let's do a very brief overview of what disability asset protection is and how ABLE accounts fit in that, and then we'll get right on to contribution limitations, asset limitations, and withdrawal limitations. Okay, so basically, if you're on a government benefit program, Medicaid, which is medical assistance in Minnesota, or SSI, you're receiving government benefits. To qualify for these government benefit programs, you have to impoverish yourself on the amount of assets you have and the amount of income you have coming in. Disability asset protection is basically making certain assets unavailable when you're qualifying for government benefits, so that if you have $1,000 that's unavailable, you won't count that towards your asset total to find out whether you qualify for the government benefit program. We've talked about special needs and supplemental needs trusts in previous videos. Today we're talking about ABLE accounts. And an ABLE account is essentially a bank account wherein the assets are deemed unavailable when you're determining whether you qualify for medical assistance or SSI. There are, however, some limitations, so let's pop right into that today. The first limitation is contribution and asset limitations. Basically, we base this on the IRS code. The amounts and the levels of what the limitations are changes relatively regularly. In 2022, the annual contribution maximum into an ABLE account is $28,880 per year. Now, this $28,880 can come from two sources and only two sources. First, I said only two sources, but the first one is just basically any source. You can get $16,000 per year from, say, a parent, a spouse, a grandparent, or a friend, or something along those lines. Now, notably, $16,000 is the same amount as the annual gift tax exemption, so you could get the entire $16,000 from one person as a gift, and they don't have to report it. However, I don't believe that the $16,000 is officially tied to the annual gift tax exemption. Furthermore, it's important to note that the contribution of $16,000 is $16,000 total from everyone, not $16,000 per person, like you could do with, say, a crummy trust. The second source of contributions to an ABLE account is the owner of the account being employed, so the person with a disability having a job. They can contribute $12,880 per year to the ABLE account. Monthly, that's $1,073.33. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it is $1,073.33 that is unavailable, that without an ABLE account you would be available. So say what you will about it. The second limitation is going to be the asset limitation. What can the total balance of the ABLE account be? And it actually depends on the program that you're on. If you're on SSI, then the first $100,000 in the account is deemed unavailable. Every dollar over $100,000 is deemed available and will count against your impoverishment requirement. However, if you're on medical assistance, you can have as much money as you want in the ABLE account and you will not be kicked off medical benefits. So that's great. The third limitation that we're going to talk about today is the withdrawal limitation. Basically, what can you use the money for? Remember, the purpose of the ABLE account is to supplement the government benefits program and supplement the individual's lifestyle, not supplant the government benefits that are provided through MA or through SSI. So in order to withdraw, you have to use, it has to be for a qualified disability-related expense. Now, what can these be? You're going to see some similarities to what, when we talked about the administration of a special needs trust and supplemental needs trust. Very similar. For instance, a qualified disability-related expense includes housing, mortgage payments, property taxes, rent, furniture, utilities, with a limitation that money has to be spent in the same month that it is taken from the account to be spent on housing. You can also spend a qualifying disability-related expenses also includes transportation, public or private, medical expenses, prevention or wellness, insurance premiums, co-pays, dental, things that are not covered by the government programs. Qualifying disability-related expenses can include education and training to get that job that you need. It can include assistive technology, such as vehicle modifications and wheelchairs. It can include professional services, such as legal fees and financial management and CPAs and tax assistants and administrative services. It can include basic living expenses that are not covered by the government benefit program. And it can include, of course, funeral and burial expenses prepaid before you die, a great way to reduce the amount of assets that you have. Now, if you spend money on something that is not a qualified disability-related expense, you're going to have a problem. Remember, first of all, money going to the ABLE account is not taxed. If you spend money on a non-qualified disability-related expense, then it will be taxed. Furthermore, you're going to be hit with a 10% penalty. And moreover, this could actually affect your government benefits because previously unavailable assets are now going to be made available for terms of qualification. So we don't want that. Be very careful if you have an ABLE account about what you spend the money on. The last thing I want to talk about with ABLE accounts, it didn't really fit in any section, but it's important, is that it is a disability asset protection mechanism. It is not an estate planning mechanism. Why do I say that? Because in estate planning, we're looking at giving your assets to your heirs, beneficiaries, friends after you die, or family, whoever it may be. If you have an ABLE account and you die, then there is clawback, just like a supplemental needs trust, or excuse me, just like a special needs trust. Medicaid can come back in and say, well, you used $100,000 in benefits, we want to be reimbursed, and they can seek reimbursement from your ABLE account. So it's not an estate planning vehicle, but it is an asset protection vehicle. So that's part 2 of our 2-part series on ABLE accounts. I hope you liked today's video. If you did like today's video, please feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help support the channel. We do a new video every other Wednesday, so you can look forward to that. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below or just send me an email. Happy to get back to you. Otherwise, until next time, this is Gregory Singleton with Signature Law.